Hi, I'm Michael Killen. An amazing thing happened. A few months ago, Governor Jerry Brown made a public statement that he wants new approaches to help address the threat and impact of climate change. And he did that because I'd say everyone who is aware of the threat of climate change recognizes that many more people, many more decision makers have to become aware of this great threat so that they support policies, strategies, solutions that help minimize the impact of this great force that is growing with every second. So, after he made that statement, and he made it at a NASA facility in California, I was having a meeting with a NASA official, and he also heard Governor Brown say that. And he said to me, "Michael, would you work with us to implement a new approach to helping increase awareness of climate change as well as solutions that can help the state of California?" So I said, of course. And a couple of things has happened, and they include an innovation in how scientists share information with the public. It also was what happened is an innovation in art. You may know I'm an artist, and artists display their art, and they tend to leave it to the audience to feel, interpret, and be impacted by the work. NASA invited me to fill the public space of a building where they would host an event with my art. And in the lobby, we put 48, I think it was 48 feet of my art, two paintings, sustainability and resilience, designed so that, and placed there so that guests would see them and the paintings might have an emotional impact on them and get the audience to become more receptive to the message that NASA was going to deliver to them. So this was now somewhat different approach than a NASA or any scientific, even academics tend to apply at an event where they're trying to, or businesses, to share a message with an audience and to try to get that audience receptive to receiving that message. So NASA installed art everywhere, even behind where the speakers would speak. And now this was also an innovation. I invited the Secretary of Natural Resources of the state of California, a man who has a $10 billion budget, a man who reports directly to the governor. I invited him to come to this event and be a key speaker. And I helped select a high-level, well, a chief of earth sciences to also speak and to share some technical information with the audience. And I also agreed to speak. So what we had was the political leader, John Laird, speaking, a scientist speaking, and then me. And some people called me the joker or the wild card, but the use of the word joker and wild card, you know, if we go back into our history, they are some of the most admired people because they bring something new to the situation, something very valuable. And kings in the past have always relied on the joker to give them maybe intuition and things and insights that they could not get from, let's say, their generals and their legislators or whatever. So this event also may have led to a significant development in the state of California. When NASA realized that I was able to bring the Secretary of Natural Resources to this event, the NASA folks realized he was the most important decision maker next to the government who they could share their message with on how NASA could help reduce the amount of water that the Central Valley, the agricultural industry of the great state of California, requires. So, at this event, NASA was able to deliver its, let's call it a sales presentation, directly to the man who could open doors throughout the entire California organization and enable NASA to provide additional services and important services. And what NASA has in mind, and I believe has gotten the state even more interested in this, is for NASA to use its great technology, its satellites, its high, way up satellites, its low-level ones, also planes, to travel over the farmlands of the state of California and provide insights into that would allow the farmers to use as little water as necessary to grow their crops. A way for the farmers to become much, much more efficient with respect to the amount of water they need and reduce waste. So right now, the Central Valley, or the agricultural industry of California, consumes 80% of the state's water. If John Laird is able to go back to Sacramento, and no doubt the NASA people will be following him there, and if that inter-exchange that occurred February the 13th at the NASA facility in California leads to the state being able to take advantage and NASA being able to deliver, that could lead to a reduction of that 80% of water that the valley needs by maybe 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%. And maybe it can't reduce it, but maybe with the help of NASA, the needs for water, the agricultural industry of the state of California can level off and not grow from 80% to 81%, 82% of the state's crime. If that happens, and I think it's possible, this new approach to persuasion, to selling, getting one's message across effectively, a scientific message or any kind of message, this will really have been an important accomplishment. Now, at the event, the Secretary of Natural Resources also took questions. And we're going to run a short clip where Adam Stern, he is the executive director of Actera, an important environmental firm in the San Francisco Bay Area. He asked Secretary John Laird a really salient question, and I think we're ready to roll it. And I want to point out that the video it has some problems with, but I think you'll get the message. And are we ready now?
The governor announced the state of emergency a month ago. He asked citizens to conserve water by 20% voluntarily. What is the timeline for considering mandatory restrictions, and how might that play out? I mean, is it going to be statewide? Is it going to be water district by water?
To impose it, and may well at some point. You wouldn't believe, with thousands of different water districts and different systems and different things, how every case is so substantially different that doing a cookie cutter to everybody is really hard, and you have this one thing that makes it really difficult, and that is so if somebody's been really, really good and really, really efficient and way ahead of the curve, how do they get the benefit for that and not have to cut 20 when whoever's been wasteful cuts 20 and still way above them? So there's all these things, and the real goal is to see first by leadership how far you can get, and then measure what you have to do next. And I think, and if it turns out that this continues in as serious way as it is, we'll look back fondly at 20%. And so it's trying to just figure out how we're going to take the next steps to do that. And the thing that he did that was really interesting is it gave local officials and local cities and counties and water board members, it gave them the backbone to do it on their own. It was leadership. And we just really see where it's not going to happen too, and then that's a whole other thing.
So that was John Laird, Secretary of Natural Resources for the great state of California, and he was responding to Adam Stearns, the Executive Director of Ecterra's question about where are things going with respect to the emergency situation in California. I want to go back for a moment and make a salient point about what I was saying a little while ago, that this event at NASA, this innovative event, may lead to a significant benefit to the state of California. NASA and artists are going to love this. NASA invited me to put my art in their building. Okay? The power of the art itself is what motivated NASA to want to put the art in it. This was before there was any mention of Secretary John Laird speaking at the event. And this was before NASA had ever seen me speak. Okay, NASA and I have had a relationship over the years. Actually, I produced 3 TV programs with 3 of their executives, and NASA, this group at NASA 3 years ago asked me to make a powerful, important painting for them, and I made sustainability. And they had commented in the past I was a big thinker, but they had never seen me speak. But the important thing is art motivated was the initiative that started what came next. John Laird, the only thing John Laird knew about me when I approached him to ask him to speak at my art event was that I had made a series of paintings that emotionally interpreted the great challenges of our time, including, sustainability, resilience, and climate change, etc. That is primarily the only thing he knew about me. He was given a dossier, a package of information on me, and it was all about the art. Art influenced him significantly to come to the NASA event and accept the opportunity to share his thoughts with the public about the status of climate change and water. And again, it was art that motivated NASA to invite the art in and to agree to an event where I, as a speaker, would help create an environment receptive to the NASA officials' message, and I would give a speech that helped the secretary. And now I also want to share, when I gave a speech, well, let me just say, Steve Hipskin, Chief of Earth Sciences, gave a very nice, competent speech. It focused 100%, as I remember, on how NASA could help the state. The secretary gave a marvelous speech. He dealt with the status of water in this state, the different conflicting demands and interests, the environment. He raised questions about what is the impact of climate change on the drought and the future. He was competent and relevant. I'll go back to the NASA fellow. The NASA fellow was competent, but they both tended to stay in their own domain. I gave a speech that was designed to help everyone, where I made the linkage firmly of the threat of climate change, the drought, the need for new solutions. And then I had behind me, as the other speakers had, my painting, Water, Water Everywhere and Not a Drop to Drink. And I had an opportunity to explain what I heard, felt happening in the world, and to paint my emotional response to it. And we had a second painting up there of mine where I evoked the spirit and other great qualities of the great Don Quixote, who set out to fight the greatest challenges of the world, and I related that to the great qualities of the great state of California that is really out to fight the same great challenges of our time. So at this point, I'd like to show 4 of the paintings, I think it was 6, come to think of it, that NASA was kind to display. So could we see the first one? Okay, first of all, this is the man who served as the person who introduced myself, Laird, to speak, and he is the associate director of the entire NASA Ames facility, and he also has great responsibility probably for all R&D. He's standing in front of my painting, Sustainability, and that's a 24-foot painting, and he and another gentleman official at NASA motivated me to make that painting. This photo was taken at a different occasion when my art was at NASA, but okay. That is me sharing my thoughts with the audience, and immediately behind me is a 10-foot painting called California After Don Quixote. And, you know, besides evoking the spirit, the qualities of Don Quixote to bring attention to the state and other challenges, this is a painting that allowed me to put fracking into perspective, the impact of sea level rise on the Central Valleys, that food bank, that great area of agricultural development. Now, in this speech, I didn't have a chance, the time, you know, was restricted, to try to explain why the governor is pushing so hard to build 2 tunnels underneath the delta. And what I do plan to do is make a painting shortly to help the public more clearly recognize and understand why that tunnel is necessary. And I just want to share with you, the sea is rising, okay? And the waves are getting higher and greater. And one of these days, ladies and gentlemen, we are living with a time bomb. The water is going to come up from the ocean, from San Francisco, and it is going to go into the delta, and that salt water is then going to head into the great farmlands of this state, causing billions of dollars of damage. It's either climate change and sea level rise is going to do it, or there's going to be an earthquake that breaks the levee, and California will lose billions of dollars in jobs and economy. And that's why the governor is pushing to get funding to build those 2 tunnels under the delta. Now, so by the way, I didn't quite go into the details of that at the event, but those kind of developments that are happening, like possible earthquake and sea level rise, those are the thoughts that drive me to make these important paintings, and certainly they're large paintings. Could we see another painting? Okay, these 3 men, I'm in the middle, and they were not at the NASA event, but the painting behind them was. the painting behind them is The Resilience of America. And it's 24 feet long, and it puts a lot of the different threats to the sustainability of the state and the nation into perspective. And those threats include climate change, the expanding economic gap, the concentration of wealth and power, people rewriting the Constitution. And by the way, those men on my left was Jim Sweeney, who is the head of the Precourt Energy Efficiency Center at NASA. And on my right is U.S. Senator Bigeman. I hope I have that one right. Okay, can we go to another? Okay, at the event at NASA, that, by the way, that's Charlie Plass, and he is the producer or the director of an important documentary that has to do with, appeals very much to justice, social justice. On the right, as we look at it, is Harry Cohen's painting that interprets the spirit, qualities of the late but great climatologist from Stanford, Steve Schneider. On the right, on his left over there, the one with a lot, you can see the face very nicely, that's Harry Cohen, who I consider maybe the most talented artist certainly in the Bay Area, maybe California. That's his interpretation of another person that he admires a lot for the work that person does to try to help mitigate the impact of climate change. Maybe we could look at another painting. So those two paintings, oh, that is Heather Durham. And she was at the event, and that is her standing in front of the painting, California After Don Quixote. And Heather, I think of Heather as an excellent TV talk show host working out of San Jose. And she came to the event, and she wanted to capture what Secretary John Laird had to say. And as a result of this event, and now I tend to think this is beneficial, she invited me to come on her TV show, which airs in San Jose, I think Los Altos, Watsonville, maybe Santa Cruz, and for me to come on the show and try to share what I learned and what happened at the NASA event, all for the purpose of helping increase awareness and understanding of things that are very important to all of us. Now, I have a feeling we may be out of photos. And what do we have? Oh, this is another photo of my painting Sustainability that was on display at NASA for this event. This event that combined art, politics, and I guess other approaches to try to effectively get a message across. That's Demetria McBride, and she is the head of the Sustainability Office of Santa Clara County. Now, the painting was at the event, I was at the event, but she had to cancel, but that's a photo when my painting was on display, if I remember correctly, at an event that the county of Santa Clara had. Now, do we have any more photos? No more photos. Okay, so I want to make a couple announcements that might be of value to you. There are some events coming up, and these events are in the San Francisco Peninsula area. And I'm going to be at, there are three events I'm going to mention. I'm going to be playing a little role at two of them. And I think just the role I'll play is being there. And my art will be on display at 2 of these. And the first one is March 18th in San Francisco. It's produced by Imagine H2O, Imagine Water. And they're having their big water gala on March 18th in San Francisco. It's a great place to network. It's a great place to learn about new developments having to do with finding ways to improve recycling of water and doing many, many other things. And their website is Imagine H2O, IMAGINEH2O.org. I hope to see you there. The next one is May 22nd, and this is the Sustainable Silicon Valley organizations, and they always put on big and good events. Water, energy, smart technology, and that one again is May 22nd. I'll be there, and my art, maybe I'm even going to debut something really wild that I haven't finished yet. And their website is Sustainable SV, Sustainable, and then add an SV like in Victor.org. And the last one, and I'll be at this one, this will be the 3rd time in a year that Stanford has invited me to put my art there. One of these days they're going to invite me to give a speech. This one is June 19th, and it's produced and presented by the Precourt Energy Center, and it is called the Silicon Valley Energy Summit. I always love to go to that one. I always get to meet senators, politicians from Sacramento, and their website is P like in Paul, EEC, Stanford.edu. And now, if you go to my website, you'll see I'm starting to release the speech, the video and parts of John Laird's speech at NASA, and I'm also starting to release the speech I gave. So I want to thank you all for this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. My website is Killen, Killen.com, Killen, Kill.com.